Go. Okay, hello everyone. Hope you are all doing well. You are joined with myself, Noor. I basically run the day-to-day operations for EasyGrow, and today I'm joined by another one of our amazing clients, Max, who has absolutely smashed it with the program with us. It feels like I keep saying that for every client we bring on, but it's just the truth. But yeah, Max has been with us for 6 months now and he's just literally popped up out of the blue, letting me know what he's managed to scale up to without letting us know of the wins he's picked up in the journey. So he saved it for this interview pretty much, and it's going to be a really good talk. So Max, appreciate you joining me on this one. And obviously we caught up just before we started recording. But for the people watching this, why don't you just introduce yourself to them in terms of who you are, who you serve, and the transformation that you deliver?
Yeah. Like Noor said there, my name's Max. I'm from Australia. I currently run a Google Ads agency, and I work with primarily e-commerce clients, a few bigger kind of lead gen clients as well, but just really established businesses that already have a bit of an online presence, and potential to sort of scale up quickly with Google Ads is really my target market. And yeah, I've been with EasyGrow for 6 months now and have come a very long way. I think Nora and I'll probably dive into that later in a bit more in a second. But yeah, I mean, absolutely love the program and really happy to be here. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And touching on that, just to give like people watching a perspective, where were you before with the agency revenue wise compared to where you are at right now?
Yeah. So when I started back in I think February, I was sitting at about 2 or 3K a month with the agency. So it was like a couple of sort of like really low ticket clients. And I think I'd landed my first ever major client, but I was still very early and I didn't really have a great foundation sort of all over the place. Now I'm sitting at about 25K a month. And yeah, it's insane to think how far I've come. But like totally legit figures, and it it feels really good to be here. And yeah, I got like probably I think 9 clients at the moment and a small team, and it's all chugging along very nicely.
Yeah, there we go. And for anyone watching this, who's probably thinking, oh, why the numbers different? Obviously, Max is in Australia and we convert to USD because Max, as you know, this on crazy online world, it's a it's a US world. So if only it was Australian or Great Britain, then it would be different. But yeah, that's pretty much why. So in terms of like converting it, Max, it's like 2K USD to like 16K USD, right? In 6 months, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. 2K
Which is
USD to about 16K USD. Yeah.
which is insane. And then you also mentioned you got a mini team going, which is what we're going to unpack a bit more. But before we get to that, talk to me about what made you join the program, man. How did you come across it? What really pushed you to join? What problems were you facing?
Yeah, so I mean, definitely before I ever came across the program, I had already been watching Charlie's content for probably about a year. I mean, I really loved his content. I thought it was, I found Charlie's stuff online to be like extremely transparent and like at a level of complexity that sort of a lot of people don't go into. And I really, really valued sort of the content he was putting out. And then at one day, I just had someone reach out to me on Twitter, said, "Hey, look, basically set me up for a meeting to discuss Charlie's program." And I was like, look, this is Charlie Morgan. He's not going to rip me off. Like, I have to go in and check this out. Um, Came into the program or just onto the sales call. And it really became clear to me on the call that I was like, I need to change something here. Like, it was sort of, I was stuck in this position where I had like a little bit of starting momentum. I had that taste of like, this is what I could do, but I just didn't have the resources to really follow through. And I knew that like, if I were to move into like a program like this, it would give me pretty much everything I needed just laid out to use at my disposal is how I imagined it, right? And then I also thought, look, I mean, if I go into this program, like it's gonna put me in a position where it's like I gotta make this work. Like I'm gonna have that responsibility. I'm gonna be like at a point where I feel obliged to really put in the work. And that was definitely the case. So I got in and was very satisfied with what I found in there, and it was completely lived up to my expectations. It was like literally everything I could have needed to scale up, and started ripping through the content, applying everything to the agency, and then just moving on up there. But yeah, it was really just it was me knowing that I just didn't have the resources to get to the point and hit my goals that I was looking to hit. And then yeah, I was just able to be supplied those resources essentially through the course. So that was probably my main motive there for coming in.
Yeah. What specific problems were you facing prior to joining? Like what resources like did you need pretty much?
Sales stuff was definitely the biggest thing for me. So like I think Charlie's sales coaching is like it's the best I've ever come across. Like it's the stuff in his sales module on just structuring your calls, sort of the whole metaphor about the creating the bridge between the problem and the
Yeah.
solution, and structure picturing yourself as a bridge kind of thing. Like it was really well laid out, and I think it just elevated my sales skills to a whole different level. And then once I started employing some of the acquisition stuff as well, not only like the specific acquisition guides, but like the acquisition mindset and sort of just the general agency mindset of getting to the right places, getting the right people in, all that kind of thing. Once I could sort of get those reps in on the sales calls with all the structure, with all the guidance, it just elevated my ability by so much, and my close rate was absolutely increased as well. And it just made everything much easier and really got the ball rolling. I think that was my biggest roadblock personally. And yeah, the course definitely unlocked a lot there, and as far as sales potential went.
Yeah, love it. And diving into that a bit more deeper, Max, how did your sales process look before like you joined and you saw our process? Was there a process? Did you have a framework you're following? Like what specifically made it go, right, we fixed it here?
Yeah, there was pretty much nothing beforehand. It was sort of like I'd seen a few YouTube videos and like try to pick and like choose from a couple like sales scripts and
Yeah.
like try and put something together that made sense. But like
Yeah.
I think at the day for me it was like having a really good understanding of the foundations was what really made the difference. It wasn't so much just having the perfect script. Like I wouldn't say that was it. I'd say it was much more the foundations and the thought processes behind the sales process that
Yes.
really changed everything for me. And that was obviously from the program. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny you say that because that's like the running theme of the program in general, like with Acquisition
Mm,
Genesis, right? Where it basically sets you up to understand the thought process of everything, outreach, sales, and whatnot. Why are you using this particular script? Why are the words here? Why are you using this outreach? Why are you saying it this way? Sometimes
mm,
people they can fall into the trap of thinking there is a magic script or magic word or magic key that's going to unlock everything. When in reality, you probably know this as well. There's not. The truth of the
mm.
matter is there's loads of different things that can work. They work once you understand what goes into it and how it works. And then you can actually craft up, I don't know, your own sales script to suit your market, your own outreach to suit your market once you understand the fundamentals.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree on that. And yeah, it's just like like you said, the whole theme of the course being like much more focused on really understanding the principles of everything to do with an agency. I totally found that to be true as well. Like I think that's where a lot of my prior like learning and content I digested was it really lacked a lot in that sort of area of having the fundamentals and principles of the agency itself. It was more just like, yeah, like you said, like hacks or tricks and things like that, which
Yeah.
at the end of the day, they just don't work. Like there is no golden key. It's just
Yeah,
figuring it all out from the ground up.
that's
Yeah.
that's literally it. And we're a big fan of like, oh, winning scripts, outreaches, outreach types, and all these things. But it's like the market's constantly evolving,
Yeah.
and it's like principles last forever. These magic
Mm.
secrets and keys, there's one day where it's not going to open the door anymore. So then you need to fall
Yeah.
back on the principles to come up with a key yourself that will allow you to go through the door. So yeah, I love that. And you've probably realized it yourself now that you're at a more established point where subconsciously, without even realizing, you've probably started tweaking things to suit your own way of selling your own market, etc., etc.
Yeah, definitely. The point I'm at now with like my primary acquisition channel being sort of like an inbound one, and having some other acquisition channels running as well. But really sort of developing my own process of understanding the type of clients that are coming to me on a much deeper level, understanding how to position my service in such a way where they're going to appreciate it more, and sort of really highlight the right value to them. I think that's absolutely something that was taught by these principles and fundamentals that I learned in the program. Yeah.
Exactly. Love it, man. So talk to me about day one in the program. So you obviously joined. How did you
hmm
sort of approach things and just your general, flow of the program when you joined? Like, what did you attack? What did you set up to really go from that, 2K mark, USD mark to where you are now? Like, how did you lay the foundations pretty much?
Yeah, I think I mean, first of all, when I joined, I was like super overwhelmed. I'm like, there's so much
Yeah.
here, like I don't even know, I don't even know where to go, you know what I mean? But that very first module, I forget the name, sorry, what was the name again, the very first module?
Acquisition Genesis.
Acquisition Genesis. I remember it was stressed everywhere
Yes.
so many times.
Yeah.
It's like go through the whole module, do everything, read, watch all the content, read everything, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, that was how I approached it from the get-go, right? And like there was so much in Acquisition Genesis to like lay the foundations of really having the right, not only the right structure of like structuring a day, structuring a mindset, structuring everything to do with like allowing growth in the agency. Like I was very unstructured prior to moving into it, and then going through Acquisition Genesis, like I feel like it has transformed the way that I viewed the whole thing, the business as a whole. Like it went from me viewing it as sort of just like this really messy, like doing this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and hoping something works, to like having a much clearer structure on where I am now, what I need to employ, and where I need to end up. And like it gave me a pretty clear path, I feel. And yeah, like once I was all the way through Acquisition Genesis, I honestly felt like I could have just figured it out from there. Like I feel like I had
Yeah.
everything, but obviously then I found in all of the successive modules, like I sort of moved into areas as I needed them. So like if I
Nice.
was looking to scale up acquisition, obviously at the beginning, like moving into like learning how to set up my cold email systems, how to set up kind of like outbound DM stuff, anything that was really relevant to me at the time and where I thought my ICP would be and how I thought I could access in the best way. And then, yeah, moving into even in the later stages when I sort of had already been in there for a few months and I was scaling up and had some reliable systems in place. I was moving back to areas like hiring, like building a team, really just picking and choosing from parts when I needed them, which I think proved really good for me because it allowed me to like just find the specific solutions to the problems when I ran into them. And like if I was already doing well with something, I would sometimes revise it as well in the program and then pick up some additional insights which I hadn't thought of. So
Yeah.
like even in the things that I was doing well in, there was still like stuff to be learned there. But especially in the areas where I was lacking or didn't have the knowledge, like it really pushed me a long way. Yeah.
Yeah, love it, man. And you mentioned obviously Acquisition Genesis, the monster of a module that or that Charlie created with the 3 hour videos, which is insane.
Yeah.
But it's great because, like you said, Max, once you manage to complete it, it just sets you up. Where I've had client interviews that tell me they just watch that and that's it. They knew
Yeah.
what to apply in their business or reframe things and they ended up succeeding, which is great. What specifically from Acquisition Genesis really gave you that sort of light bulb moment where it's like, oh, I'm looking at this wrong. This is how I should frame my business. Like, was there any specific point where or thing that made you go, now I know what exactly to do?
That's pretty hard to say. It was definitely a while ago that I reviewed it. But I mean, one thing that I do remember that really clicked with me personally through honestly it was a theme throughout the entire program, but especially noticed it in Acquisition Genesis is Charlie really emphasizes the scientific method and like appreciating and approaching things scientifically. And I mean, for me, it really resonated with me specifically because I was at uni before I started my agency and I was studying biomedical science. So like the whole scientific thing really came together to me and like really, really made everything clearer in my head, actually. That was probably the biggest thing that changed it for me is like I just need to approach this like a problem with a repeatable strategy that's going to produce results, right? And it was like the scientific method terminology and metaphors and everything that he used to like compare building and growing and testing and failing and comparing everything to the scientific method and relating it to that made it very clear and straightforward for me to understand. I think it's a fantastic metaphor for building anything
Yeah,
that you want to produce replicable results from. Yeah.
yeah, amazing, man. And outside of like acquisition genesis, was there anything else in particular that you really loved about the program, as well as a sales module? Was there anything else that really helped you?
I think it was definitely acquisition genesis and the sales, which were the two biggest
Yeah.
drivers for me by far. But I still found a lot of value in sort of like the just the kind of plug and play things that were available in specific areas. Like for example, a contract for hiring a contractor, right? Like a template for hiring a contractor. Like stuff like that where it just makes your life a whole lot easier, where you don't have to go through and sift through the web and try and find something reliable and hope that you're not, you're doing the right thing. And it's kind of it just having everything in one place available, like in very clearly laid out. It just made a lot of my problems like condense from 10 hours down to like 20 minutes. So it was like a lot of just bits and pieces all over the place. But sales was the biggest hitter for me, aside acquisition genesis. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And yeah, you're 100% right there. It's like when you can just plug and play some of the
Mm.
SOPs you've got, the contracts and whatnot, it just saves you a ton of time just going through the internet, having to come up with your
Mm.
own. Um, Another thing I want to touch on, Max, is your approach to the program where obviously for people watching this, I only heard from Max in the program, I think once or twice. First of which was his intro post, second of which was his off audit, and then you disappeared for 6 months and then reappeared telling me how he scaled up, which is amazing. And I wanted to touch on this because I really want to hear your perspective on approaching the program in the sense that it didn't feel like you need, like from what you told me, it didn't feel like you needed that much support from the group or coaching calls. Obviously, coaching calls, as you're in Australia, it's a bit tricky time. But even the group support, you just didn't need that because you found that the videos itself, you just got what you needed from there, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think there's a few aspects to the way that I approach it. I mean, first of all, I mean, I do believe that there probably was everything I needed was in the content. And I guess I'm sort of proof of that. Like
Yeah,
everything I
yeah,
did need was there, right? But aside from that, like I as a person am like a very self-oriented learner. Like I have never really been huge to engage in sort of group discussions or specific calls or things because I just kind of like find a way to figure it out myself, I guess, which is probably unproductive at times. Like I probably would be able to accelerate quicker if I actually interacted more. I think that's probably one of my like regrets is that I didn't interact more as I went on, and I probably could have saved some time from doing so, but I just get so like so focused on solving a problem myself and I'd sort of I don't know I just end up figuring it out I guess but yeah like you said I mean I've always believed not only in this program in particular but even outside of it that like in many cases everything you need is there and like you can find it if you search hard enough and I thought that was definitely the case with the program myself but I wouldn't encourage that for everyone. I think some people, and myself included, definitely would have had more value, sorry, by engaging more in the community and going to coaching calls and things like that. But hey, it worked out in the end run.
Yeah, no, li listen, I'm not complaining. Less work for me in terms of support. No, I'm joking. But yeah, there we go. But no, it's almost like a double-edged sword, right? Where it's like you said, Max, yes, if you reached out and asked and whatnot, maybe you could accelerated your success, or whatever it is. But at the same time, it really gives a positive light in the program as a whole, where you were able to just go through the videos and just get what you needed pretty much to scale to the point where you're at. It wasn't too complicated, if that makes sense, where it's like, oh, I need to ask someone for XYZ. And it just goes to show how simple things are, right? In terms of just
Mm,
getting what you need and executing.
mm. Yeah, totally agree. I think yeah, it's sometimes people overcomplicate it, and I
Yep.
think it's just a matter of solving it one problem at a time, right? It's like I'm struggling with this, I'll figure this out now. Okay, I figured it out. What's the next problem? That's sort of how
Yeah.
I approach it the whole way, and I found that it worked. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it, man. And in terms of your team size, Max, obviously, again, this is something you touched on, when we were talking about where you were before and where you are now. Uh, Give me a rundown of once more, like how it looks now compared to how it looked before. So before, I'm assuming it was just you. Fast forward 6 months later, you two media buyers, or am I missing anyone?
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, so when I started out, it was like obviously pretty low intensity, like it was just a couple of clients to service, sales calls, acquisition, that kind of thing. But then as I started to scale up a bit more, it's got a bit intense with the service delivery. I was getting kind of bored of the service delivery. Although I like the service I provide, you can only do it so
Yeah.
often before you get sick of it, you know. And I thought, look, I got to find a way to get this off my plate. So I brought on a couple of media buyers, once again using sort of some of the hiring information, hiring guides, hiring formats from EasyGrow. And then, yeah, now I have those two guys who have pretty much taken over all the service delivery for me, which is absolutely wonderful.
Nice.
It's a great feeling. And now I just have time to focus on bringing in as many sales calls as I can, which I absolutely love. And I think that is my favorite part of the business is acquisition, the sales, all that kind of thing, and just growing. So now that I have overcome that hump of hiring and I sort of know how to hire and I have a good team in place already, I think it's just going to be crazy growth from here on out. But yeah, it's wonderful. I encourage everyone to try and bring on, it can be scary to bring on those hires and to give that work away because you feel like maybe you feel like they won't do as good a job or you might be
Yeah.
scared of that kind of thing. And I was a little bit scared, but you just got to trust the process and do it in the right way and it will come true in the end. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go, man. With regards to hiring, was there anything specific from the program that helped? Any specific videos or like, interview structure or anything like that?
Yeah, my biggest thing that I found really useful was something that I hadn't considered myself before I consulted the program was having the like funnel structure that was laid out in like the videos. Specifically like you create the form, the website form, which is like basically an info form for your hires where they put in answer a few questions and they record a quick video of themselves. And once you've got that form, you basically get the link, go to as many places and platforms as you can. So like Facebook groups, Upwork, Fiverr, whatever kind of websites. Pass out this form link as far and wide as you can and get as many responses in as you can. And that just collects everything into one place. And then moving through that form, you know, cutting some out and then moving on with a select few. Initial interviews, speak to some people, get a vibe. Final interviews or secondary interviews, speak to them more. And then maybe like a tertiary interview I did for one or two guys as well. But like, yeah, just having that sort of really nice structure just made the whole process a lot more streamlined and saved me a lot of time, I think.
Yeah, nice, man. And so it's just you, two media buyers. And where are you looking to take the business? Let's say it's been 6 months. Where are you looking to go in the next 6 months? Because that'd be quite interesting because now you're at a really good pace where you can just take sales calls pretty much whilst the
Yeah,
service
yeah.
delivery gets handled.
Yeah, no, it's good. I think, I mean, the personal goal for me is 50K Australian by the end of the year,
Yeah,
which I think is very achievable. It's,
easy.
30K roughly US, a bit more than that. Um, so pretty much doubling the business from where it's at right now. But I think, given that the hardest part is always the beginning, like being able to get past that first 6 months and now have everything I've already learned, it's going to make the acceleration a lot quicker, I suspect. So we'll see what happens. But I think, yeah, the goal is end of this year to get to about 50K a month. Ideally, have maybe another one or two media buyers on board, and then also eventually I'd like to get a like an operations manager as well, so someone who
Yeah.
can manage the media buyers day to day. and just keep everything moving and keep everything streamlined. And then eventually, I remember Charlie always said the last thing you step out of is sales. So I think I
Yeah.
like eventually down the line, I'd like to hire some sales guys, but I'll stick in that for as long as I can before I have to outsource. And then so yeah, I mean, the dream goal eventually is having something that's semi hands off, I guess. So not entirely, but being able to have a acquisition system in place managed by some VAs or operations managers,
Yeah.
then a couple sales guys to handle the calls, media buyers fulfill the work, and maybe some like client communication people to really just make sure that all the communication's nailed in too. And then once all the roles are filled, maybe move on to another project. But
Yeah, that's
that's
it.
quite a while down the line.
Eh,
But yeah, I've got big goals for it for sure.
Sell, exit, call it a day, onto the onto the next.
That's it. I never stop though. Always
Yeah,
another
yeah.
project.
There we go, man. There we go. Touching on acquisition, Max. Is it just inbound you do on Twitter, or is there anything else?
Yeah, so right now, the focus is definitely on the inbounds from Twitter. I have run some cold email as well. I'm not running it right now, but I did run it for a significant period. Got a few good leads through there. Couple of closes too, I think. And I've just found personally that the highest lead quality for me is through my Twitter or X profile. And then also I have from the people in my space heard very good things about YouTube, which is my current project for expansion as far as acquisition goes, moving into the YouTube realm of things. Alongside also probably something I've overlooked, which is like cross-posting on LinkedIn, trying to get some more traffic through there essentially for free for my existing content. And then another kind of more unorthodox acquisition method, which I have seen success with, and I have actually spoken to other people about, is through Upwork, which is really odd and it sounds off. But
Yeah.
I have like a friend of mine he's an agency owner, runs like a very big agency, much bigger than mine. And he still gets clients through Upwork, like whale clients. So I don't know, it's a weird one. And I used it in the past when I was a lot smaller. And I found my first ever big client through there. So there's
Yeah.
some credit to it, but I think it has to be done the right way. And I wouldn't advise anyone to jump into it and throw everything in there. But
Yeah.
it's just an interesting idea and something I'm also looking at. Yeah.
That is quite interesting to be honest, because with with Upwork, I think there's like from a big brand's perspective, especially the old school brands, in their minds, you don't
Mm,
go to X or Facebook or put out a hiring post. It's like,
mm.
right, where do we let's just go to the hiring sites like Upwork or
Yeah.
Fiverr. And then
Yeah.
it's like a blue ocean where, there's not enough people like yourself, right? Where you're like, what big brands are chilling here? Like, I didn't know. Let me show them my
Yeah.
case study. So yeah, it's interesting because I've seen it's funny you mentioned like your friend does that. I saw someone else do that as well, where it
Yeah.
is an untapped market where you will find the odd whale or two. And it's funny because you've got a position of leverage now with your agency, your presence on Twitter, and the new clients you've been
Mm,
able to sign on and get results for. You're basically
mm.
for lots of people, Upwork is a beginner platform. You're basically entering there with a wealth of case studies and whatnot. And
Mm.
you can just show that from the get-go and pick up
Yeah.
these odd whales or two.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. I think it's definitely an interesting opportunity. So little gem there for anyone listening. But also, I mean, I started out there like at the very beginning, like I got my first big client from there.
Yeah,
And there's like, and I still work with them to this day. Like they're probably my coolest client. Still really love working with them. Still pay me
nice.
well. So yeah, I think yeah, if you get it right, there's opportunity.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. Did they pay you for Upwork?
No, no. So,
Okay.
well, you're meant to, but there was sort
Okay, yeah,
of
yeah.
like
It's a relationship
some
built.
transition.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
We'll keep it on that. There we go. So we may have a new Upwork module by Max coming in 6 months when he tests the
Maybe.
water when he returns to it. So yeah, that's quality, man. So yeah, great stuff. So Max, as we sort of round up the interview here, one of the last questions I have specifically for you, very simple one, man. It's simply how do you feel? Because, 6 months ago, you're probably in a position where you're making, 2 to 3 K like AUD, like you said. there's a lack of predictability in revenue. You don't have a sales process. You don't know what direction you're going in. Fast forward to 6 months, you've gone from not having all of that to being at a point where you're making 24K AUD. You've got a team under you. Acquisition isn't a problem. Sales isn't a problem. You got some great case studies, and you're now talking to me about hiring this person, hiring that person, hiring this person, which is amazing. So, simple question, man. How does it feel? Have you had time to reflect? And one thing I want you to try and remember is probably 6 months ago when you had the sales call. Obviously, the typical question is like, how would this change your life? X, Y, Z. Talk to me, man. Like, has it sunk in yet, or are you still sort of going through the motions?
It's weird, man. It's really strange. Like I feel like it comes in waves, like the recognition of where I'm at. Like one day I'll just sit there and be like, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like I can't believe I'm like have this going now. Like it's surreal and it's hard to understand. I think when I first came into it, I remember the sales call. I think his name was Sebastian. Does that sound right?
Sebastian, shout out to Seb. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, shout out Seb. He was a cool guy, and
Yeah.
thank you for getting me on. Like, thank you for the encouragement. But I remember his saying, like, what do you want? What's your goals? How's it going to change things? And it was like the biggest thing for me was like geographic freedom, like being able to move around when I wanted, where I wanted, and being able to go on trips with my girlfriend, whatever. I remember he said that specifically. I said, yeah, that'd be pretty good. But it's yeah, like I have it. Like I literally
Yeah.
it's weird for me to think now. It's like I've already gone on a couple of trips overseas in the past like month or two. And like now I have this thing in my life that allows me to go wherever I want, work from there, and have like a team who does, the majority of the service delivery. So like I don't even really have to work. Obviously, I want to continue the acquisition and the sales, but it's like I can go anywhere at any time and just live, and like it's crazy to me because that was always my goal. And now that I have like the capacity to do that, it's like it's sort of sunk in, but not really. Like it's
Doesn't
surreal,
feel
but
real.
it's very nice. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the other thing was when I came into the program, I was at a point where like no, I'd quit my job. I was like focused going all in on agency. I didn't have much money because of like things in the previous year. And I was like very, very careful with my money, right? Like I was at a point where I wasn't able to like I go out to a nice dinner or something like that, right? And I was like, I was in a place of a lot of restriction. I forget the word, but like, yeah, not a lot, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then like at a point now where like I don't really have to think about money much. Like it's not really a
Yeah.
concern. It's just sort of something that like it's like a goal now, but like it's not I don't have any worries anymore. It's just like got rid of all my money problems pretty much, which is like really nice. So yeah, like
Yeah.
fantastic. To put it in one word, absolutely fantastic. Or two words. But yeah.
And that is music to my ears because every time I ask a client that, they usually tell me, "Oh no, I haven't processed it yet. I'm busy working, or I'm on to the next goal." And it's understandable because with entrepreneurs like yourself, it's normal to just you're so locked in, right? You forgot what you
Yeah.
said on the sales call like 6 months
I
ago. It's
know.
like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, and
Yeah.
I kind of tease clients I interview and say, "What are you doing, man? Just sit back, write some notes on your journal, reflect this, that," and I have a bit of a laugh with them. But no, seriously, man, I'm super happy that you know it's managed to sink into some capacity because it's a big deal, Max. This level of freedom you have from a geographical standpoint, even somewhat financial freedom, like you mentioned there, where obviously there's loads more money to be made, but you're in a position
Yeah.
where, like you said to me, it's incredible to hear that where you go, oh no, I don't have to worry about money as much as I was before, where I'm just,
Yeah.
a bit careful with where I'm spending. Now it's like you're telling your girlfriend, hey, let's have this dinner, let's go this place, let's go that place. It's absolutely amazing, and I'm so happy for you. And crazy thing is, you're only getting started. It's only been 6 months.
hmm Yeah, there's a long way to go yet, and I'm very excited to see where it takes me. But
Yeah,
like another thing is like that's big for me is it's what sunk into me like probably a couple months ago is that like I know I've reached a point now where like I'll never go back to a normal job. Like there's no
nice.
way that I will ever return to like the potential of working in an office for a
Yeah.
firm or for like a big company or something. Like it's just like I feel like I've become just a serial entrepreneur and that's it. Like I just feel like I'm stuck with that, which is I guess a blessing and a curse, but for me
Yeah.
it's a blessing. I love it. I'm so grateful for it that like I have the opportunity. But yeah,
It's like once you get a taste, you just can't go back. You just can't
yeah,
go back to settling for
yeah,
less. So amazing stuff. And that actually reminds me to ask you another question specific to you, which is, what did version one of Max look like in terms of his identity, beliefs, maybe some habits, etc., compared to the version I'm speaking to right now? Like, did he have any limiting beliefs or anything like that, Max, that you had to break to ultimately be in the position you're in now? Any bad habits you had to get rid of? Like, talk to me. How are you
yeah.
different compared to before?
Yeah, I mean, a huge number of limiting beliefs that have been broken. I mean, I know there's a lot of guys in EasyGrow that are younger than me. I'm 22, but like, still, I always had that belief that like I'm too young for people to take me seriously, right? Things
Classic.
like, no one's ever going to want to buy this off someone who has so little experience, like all those kind of things that I would think of, and just hold myself back from achieving what I could. And then just confidence as a whole. Like I remember when I first started, I was absolutely petrified of cold calling. Like I did not want to speak to anyone over the phone. Um, and from a lot in Charlie's modules themselves, but also just putting in the reps myself and learning, but going through so many calls, talking to so many individuals. Like I think cold calling is the best example. Is like now I like don't care. Like if you told me to get up tomorrow and do 100 cold calls, it's like whatever, that's fine. Like okay, it's like I don't have that fear anymore. It's completely gone. I think it's just made me into a person who it's just a lot more able to do things. I'm willing to take on far more challenges and grow in like a much better way. And just yeah, the business itself has developed me a lot as a person.
Yeah.
I think I never had any super bad habits or anything, but just it's blown all of my limiting beliefs out of the water and just like completely made me a much more confident and happy
Yeah.
and optimistic person, I guess.
Yeah, love it, man. That's amazing. So as we sort of finish up this interview, Max, typically there's
Mm.
two groups of people that watch this. The first of which is obviously current students that are in the program, and the second of which are people that have yet to join the program. Maybe they're thinking about it, maybe they're on the fence, or maybe they just want more information before proceeding, right? So for the first group of people, the current students in the program, right? What would you say your best pieces of advice would be for them to succeed based off of your like experience?
My best piece of advice is very typical, but it's like no matter how many problems you run into, just keep solving them. Like the only thing you can do is you will be discouraged. You will hit a rock wall and think there's no way I'll ever get past this, but there is a way to get past it. There's some kind of solution. You just haven't found it yet. And once you do, you're going to be a week in the future and you're going to forget about that ever happening, right? It's like things that seem really big at certain points in time are really such a tiny process in the journey. Like I can think there were so many times where I was terrified of certain aspects or I felt so stuck, like I'd never be able to move any further. But then I look back now and I can't even remember any of them, right? It's like such minor things once you look at it in the grand scheme of things. And you just got to keep going. Like no matter what you run into, like you're in the program for a reason. You made this jump for a reason. And you got to follow through and you got to make it happen because we all know you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that point, if you did need any help, be sure to ask us. Unlike Max, who just is
Yes, ask the guys. Yes, ask them, please, because I made my life much more difficult than it had to be. So yeah, please talk
uh,
to them.
season, man. But no, that's great stuff. And to those
Yeah.
people that have yet to join Max, almost as if you're speaking to yourself, maybe you had hesitations in joining, right? What would you say to those people that have yet to join the program, from your honest experience working with us?
Take the leap. I think that was always it for me when I was sitting there on that first call, talking to Sebastian. I sat there and I thought in my mind, I got to take this leap. Like if I don't do it now, then when will I do it? If not now, then when, right? It's like you just have to do it, commit to it, make a promise to yourself, have faith in yourself, and follow through. I think there is, like I've said earlier in this interview, there is such a wealth of knowledge to be gained from Charlie's program. And if you truly, truly want it, everything you need is here. Everything you need to succeed, you will find here. So I think just do it, please. You will thank yourself. Before I started, I never would have expected that I would ever get to this level. And now it's like my wildest dreams have essentially come true. So just do it. It's worth it. I promise.
Amazing. Really appreciate the kind words there, Max. And final one, man, where can they find you? Like, where can they follow you? Where can they check you, check what you got going on, all this good stuff?
Yeah, so like I said, I run Google Ads and I have a lot of helpful knowledge on my Twitter X account. Um, my account is Life Maximized, LifeMaxImised, English spelling with an S, not a Z.
There you go.
But yeah, on that account, you'll find heaps of Google Ads tips and tricks, and you'll come along for my ride, see how everything's changed in my life, a little bit of personal stuff. But yeah, lots of good stuff on there. So give me a follow if you're interested. But yeah, up to you.
There we go. For there anyone watching that wants to keep up with Max, and the rare chances you're also a Google brand, right? Not a Google brand, but a brand that needs Google ads, to but yeah, I'll pop Max's Twitter in the description below. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the interview, guys. Really hope you enjoyed this one. And this Max is like a great example of a client that we have that literally just cracked on with the program and just scaled and popped up popped out of the blue saying, oh yeah, hey no, this ended up working. Cheers. Appreciate the help. But again, it just goes to show that the program does work as long as you're willing to put the work in. And I round this interview off by saying the same outro that I always do. If you are someone that wants to follow a proven roadmap and are willing to put in the work to succeed, then it's probably worthwhile booking a call with us to see if we're a good fit for one another. If, however, and Max, I'm sure you'd agree with this, again, I say the same thing to every client I get an interview with before I say this line. If you want a magic pill that you can take, swallow and bang, you've got the, financial and geographical freedom that Max has with no work, no effort, no, trials and tribulations and whatnot. Essentially, if you want the success without the work, then unfortunately, the program is not a good fit for you. Okay. Please do not fall for the social media gimmick of Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Rolexes, all these fancy watches on holidays, where you assume that it doesn't take any work to get there. I don't want to lie to you. It takes a lot of work to get there, like Max did here in the past 6 months to get to the stage he's at. So, long story short, if you want a magic pill to success with no work whatsoever, the program isn't for you. If you do end up finding that, please let me know because I'd love to, take that pill or program. But if you're someone that's willing to follow a proven framework and really put in the work necessary to make things work, then book a call with us because we're probably going to be a great fit for you. And yeah, if you're still on the fence, be sure to watch the other interviews that we have on the website and on the channel to gain some further clarity. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this interview. Max, I'm gonna try and get you for a part two. So I'm gonna try and follow up with you in 6 months and see where you're at. If
All
of
right.
course if you're open to it. So hopefully you are, and I'll try to chase Max down, guys, for a part two. And but until
Yeah.
then, this has been part one. It's been an amazing transformation. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers, guys. Bye.